In the last episode, we witnessed how Li Xiulai, with the help of Jiang Ming, spread photos of Zheng Shuili's alleged affair with teachers all around the campus. When Zheng Shuili discovered this, she was absolutely furious. Up next, Zheng Shuili stormed across the campus, tearing down posters with fierce determination, shredding them into pieces. The gathered students watched with growing excitement, whispering amongst themselves. One student remarked, "Is she really selling herself for good grades?" Another responded skeptically, "That's unlikely. Isn't her family extremely wealthy?" Zhang Shuili turned to face them, her eyes blazing with anger. "What did you say? If you're bold enough, say it louder," she demanded. The girl she addressed, however, remained unfazed, replying calmly, "What are you even angry about? He doesn't even respect himself, yet he dares to shout at us. How shameless." Another student chimed in, "I've heard rumors that she seduces people. How could someone so despicable be in our school? Absolutely revolting." Surrounded by stares and malicious gossip, Zhang Shuili felt a wave of anxiety and despair wash over her. From a distance, Li Xiulai observed the scene, his thoughts cold and calculating. This won't faze Zheng Shuili much. She could easily extricate herself if she wished. But this is just the beginning. It's essential to dismantle the innocent image she's cultivated so carefully. He allowed himself a brief smile before murmuring under his breath, "Next, I'll destroy the background she takes so much pride in." Later, at the Coffee Road Cafe, Li Xiulai met with Yang Feilong, handing over several new technological proposals. Upon reviewing them, Yang Feilong's eyes widened in astonishment. "This plan is nothing short of brilliant. I wish I could rush back immediately and have my team implement it. These are precisely the issues Feilong Technology is struggling with right now." Li Xiulai remained composed, asking confidently, "Are you satisfied with what you see?" Yang Feilong sighed, shaking his head slightly. "I used to think you were the one missing out by not joining Feilong, but now I see that the real loss is mine." Li Xiulai smiled knowingly and replied, "There's no such thing as a free lunch. What I've shown you before were merely appetizers. Today's plan, however, is the main course." Yang Feilong, both surprised and impressed, thought to himself, "These young minds are always quick to act when money is involved. After fishing for so long, is it time to pull in the net?" Li Xiulai then mentioned his request. "I would like your assistance in acquiring a company called Jiangquang Company Limited." Yang Feilong, perplexed, asked, "Why Jiangquang?" With a measured smile, Li Xiulai replied, "I have a teacher I deeply respect." After a brief pause, he elaborated, "I aim to restore his reputation. Not only must we expose Zhang Shuili's deceit, but we also need to dismantle the powerful forces supporting her. Justice must be served." Upon hearing this, Yang Feilong stood abruptly, impressed by the underlying motive. "So this is about something far more noble than I expected," he thought, slightly humbled. He turned to Li Xiulai and said with conviction, "Jiangquang, you say? Consider it done. It's time for them to shut their doors." After his meeting with Yang Feilong, Li Xiulai returned to the boys' dormitory and shared his plans with Jiang Ming. "What do you think?" he asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Jiang Ming silently nodded his agreement, his expression unreadable. "As I thought," Li Xiulai mused, "Zhang Shuili's matter hasn't yet ignited widespread controversy at the school. The first step was merely a test." He turned to Jiang Ming again. "Is Teacher Guo still reflecting on his suspension?" "Yes," Jiang Ming confirmed. "It looks like there's no avoiding his dismissal this time. Some students have seen him looking utterly drained and deeply demoralized. Is there something you plan to do about it?" Li Xiulai stepped toward the door, his voice resolute. "I'll check on him myself." Later that evening, Professor Guo stood alone in a park, lost in thought as he wrestled with how to navigate his professional crisis. Li Xiulai approached him quietly, offering a reassuring smile. "Hold on a little longer. The truth will come to light soon, and your name will be cleared." Professor Guo, feeling defeated and demoralized, looked at Li Xiulai and sighed. "How can someone as poor and disconnected as I am fight against the rich and powerful? It's not that I haven't tried, but those who once supported me now want nothing to do with me, as if I've become an outcast." He continued, recalling his recent attempts to seek help. "I reached out to an old friend, hoping for some assistance, but he told me, 'Lao Guo, I'm about to be promoted. Getting involved with you now would only jeopardize that.' Another friend explained that Zheng Shuili's family is related to Deputy Director Wang from the Ministry of Education. When her father found out about the situation, he became furious, and vowed to get to the bottom of it. He threatened the school, saying, if they don't deal with me, he'll take action himself. They're turning a minor incident into something much larger. Professor Guo shook his head in disbelief. They advised me to admit to the sexual harassment allegations, kneel before Zhang Shuili, and apologize. Otherwise, the Zhang family will ruin me, leaving me disgraced and unable to teach anywhere. They told me, life is long. Kneel down, apologize, and move on. There are plenty of private schools out there where you could start over. Can you believe that? Anger flickered in his eyes as he continued. Who would have thought a student from such a prominent family would stoop to such methods? A rumor takes only one person to spread, but trying to refute it feels hopeless. Li Shulai, calm and thoughtful, responded, if they are using money and influence to pressure you, then we'll fight fire with fire. Use even more resources to make them surrender. For the first time in a while, Professor Guo felt a glimmer of hope. Classmate Li, I never expected you of all people to be the one standing by me, believing in me when no one else does. His voice softened, but concern soon clouded his expression again. But the problem remains. How could we possibly have more resources than the Zhang family? In this world, does justice ever prevail for the common man without a price? He looked at Li Shulai with a mixture of gratitude and resignation. Since you're here, I have nothing more to teach you. Just remember this. Talent and ability are vital, but you must always be wary of hidden dangers. Your teacher is living proof of that. Li Shulai looked at Teacher Guo with unwavering confidence. Teacher, you always told me never to be defeated by difficulties and hardships. Now I'm telling you the same thing. Justice will come, and the guilty will be punished. But please, don't even think of proving your innocence by taking your own life. He smiled brightly as he added, in this life, evildoers never go unpunished. Teacher Guo, visibly moved yet slightly awkward, managed to smile. Then I will wait, he said quietly, feeling a glimmer of hope for the first time in a long while. A short while later, in the corridor of the first teaching building, Li Shulai walked into a classroom and approached Zhang Shuili. With a calm, respectful tone, he asked, Zhang Shuili, I respectfully request that you withdraw your complaint against Teacher Guo. Zhang Shuili stood abruptly from her seat, her expression furious. Li Shulai, stay out of this. Don't forget what happened to Guo Guoqiang. You don't want to risk not graduating, do you? Unfazed, Li Shulai met her gaze steadily. This is your last chance. Taken aback, Zhang Shuili sneered. Oh, a last chance, huh? Where did you pick up that line? Have you been watching too many cartoons lately? She grabbed Li Shulai by the collar, her voice dripping with contempt. You're from the lower class, Li Shulai. Don't think you can save anyone. People like you are destined to be trampled underfoot for the rest of your life. Who cares about ants like you? She smirked as she let go of his collar. That's my advice to you. With that, she turned and began walking away. Before she could leave, Li Shulai's voice rang out, calm but firm. Zhang Shuili, the countdown has begun. Zhang Shuili paused, confused. What are you talking about, you fool? She snapped, before leaving. Later that evening, back at Zhang Shuili's villa, she returned home in high spirits. Kicking off her shoes, she called for her father. Her father rushed to her, his face beaming with excitement. Shirley, our family is about to get rich. Phylong Technology wants to partner with us. I'm going to the bank soon to apply for a loan so we can get the project moving forward. He looked at her eagerly and asked, Do you know about Phylong Technology? It's the company that secured several $100 million yuan in investments right after it went public. Even overseas investors are throwing their money into it. It's now the leading company in the industry, and it was their CEO, Yang, who personally negotiated the acquisition. Zhang Shuili paused to process what her father had just said. She quickly calculated the potential profit in her head, and couldn't help but think of Li Shulai's earlier warning. A smile crept onto her face. This is hilarious, she thought. One last chance? This is some kind of joke? Her father, still elated, added, Surely, our family's fortune is going to skyrocket. Soon, you'll be part of the elite social circles, enjoying wealth and glory beyond your wildest dreams. Zhang Shuili looked at her father and said earnestly, I don't want to just be a superficial vase. I want to work hard alongside you in the future. Her father, beaming with pride, replied, That's my daughter. The next day, in the study room, Zhang Shuili folded a piece of paper into a ball and threw it at Li Shulai. However, Li Shulai quickly caught it and, without hesitation, tossed it back toward her, hitting her squarely in the face. Furious, Zhang Shuili stood up from her seat and shouted, You're looking for death! Li Shulai ignored her outburst, glancing calmly at his watch. He began a countdown. Zhang Shuili noticed this strange behavior, bewildered. What's he doing? Does he look down on me, she wondered. As the countdown reached 0, Zhang Shuili's phone suddenly rang. She answered, only to hear her father's panicked voice on the other end. Something's happened at home. We might go bankrupt. Don't come home. Stay away for now. Shocked and unable to process what was happening, Zhang Shuili stood frozen. Li Xiulai, still watching his watch, murmured, right on time. Terrified, Zhang Shuili approached him, her body trembling. What did you do? She asked, her voice shaking. Unfazed, Li Xiulai looked at her with calm indifference. What could I possibly do to someone as rich and powerful as the Zhang family? Suddenly her phone rang again. This time, an angry voice on the other end yelled, You worthless brat! Pay back what your father owes us, or sell your body like the slut you are! One call after another started coming in from unknown numbers, each filled with threats and insults. In shock and confusion, Zhang Shuili's hands trembled, and her phone slipped from her grasp, falling to the ground. She collapsed beside it, tears streaming down her face. This can't be real! I must be dreaming! She cried. Li Xiulai calmly picked up her phone from the floor and handed it back to her. Money is the most unreliable thing, he said coldly. Only I can save you. Go home and think it over carefully. With that, he turned and left, leaving Zhang Shuili in a state of complete disbelief and despair. As night fell, Zhang Shuili cautiously made her way back home, carefully avoiding being seen. During the day, the entrance had been surrounded by angry debt collectors, and the house had been defaced with graffiti. Fear gripped her, and her legs shook with uncertainty. Should we leave tonight? She wondered. However, she was shocked when she saw her house, completely vandalized, with spray paint covering the walls, and everything in chaos. Panicking, she ran to her room, desperately hoping her jewelry was still safe. But when she opened the door, she froze. The entire room was in disarray, and all her jewelry was gone. Nothing remained. Shocked, she collapsed to the floor, her mind racing. Li Xiulai warned me about this, she recalled. In this world, those who use money to bully others will eventually meet someone wealthier who will crush them. He said only he could save me. Despite the reality staring her in the face, Zhang Shuili stubbornly muttered, Why is he pretending? Save me. My family has investments from Feilong Technology. This has to be a prank. But deep down, doubt crept in. Forget it, she thought, grabbing her phone. I don't even know where Mom and Dad are hiding, and who knows what the debt collectors have done to them. She dialed her father's number, but there was no answer. Tears welled up in her eyes as she whispered, Why won't you pick up? Dark thoughts began to flood her mind. In TV dramas, people in debt get their hands chopped off. No, that can't happen. Can it? She shook her head, trying to dismiss the idea. No, definitely not. But what do I do now? All I have left is this month's living expenses. Suddenly, there was a loud, forceful knock at the door. Zhang Shuili screamed in terror. On the other side, 2 debt collectors began kicking at her room door, trying to break in. One of them sneered, It felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. But look at that. We caught a fish after all. The other man laughed. I saw her come in with my own eyes. She hasn't left since. Maybe she's still got some cash on her. Zhang Shuili's heart pounded in her chest as panic overtook her. What do I do? She thought, paralyzed with fear. The door rattled violently as the men continued kicking it, and finally, with a deafening crash, the door broke open. Zhang Shuili, terrified, began screaming loudly, pleading with the men. I don't have any money. Go ask my parents. It's their debt, not mine. One of the debt collectors grabbed her roughly by the neck and sneered, Haven't you heard? A daughter pays her father's debts. He threw her onto the bed and struck her before turning to his men. Search her. Find out if she's hiding any money. Zhang Shuili sobbed uncontrollably, begging them to stop. Please let me go, she cried, her voice trembling with fear. One of the men began searching her body inappropriately, groping her under the guise of looking for money. She cried out, I don't have anything. Please stop. But the leader of the group found her purse. Holding it up, he grinned wickedly. Didn't you say you had no money? Then what's this? Zhang Shuili's eyes widened as she lunged forward, grabbing onto his leg. Please, that's all I have left. Don't take it. It's my last bit of money, she begged. The leader slapped her hard across the face, shoving her to the ground. He opened the purse, finding only a few hundred yuan. Disappointed, he sighed. This isn't much, but no matter. You don't need money to repay the debt. He leered at her, his eyes filled with lust. You can just pay with your body. You're beautiful enough for that. Zhang Shuili's heart raced as she crawled backward, desperately trying to distance herself from him. "No, no, please don't come any closer." The man advanced on her, a sinister smile spreading across his face. "You're so pretty. No wonder your teacher wanted to harass you. A well-educated college student like you'd sell for a high price." Tears streamed down Zhang Shuili's face. "No, you can't do this to me. You can't," she cried, trembling. The leader smirked cruelly. "Weren't you the one being passed around by men already? Why are you pretending to be innocent now?" Zhang Shuili sobbed, desperately pleading with them. "Let me go. I'll find my parents. They'll pay you back. I'm their only daughter. They'll listen to me." The man laughed mockingly. "Give up on that. Your parents ran away long ago. It's clear they don't care about you anymore. You walked right into their mess, and now you're going to pay for it." He pushed her down onto the bed, and Zhang Shuili's mind raced with fear. "Yesterday, I was driving a luxury car, living a life of comfort. How did I end up here? In this nightmare," she thought, overwhelmed. "Why is this happening to me?" Just as the debt collector was about to force himself on her, a man in a black suit suddenly appeared and stopped him. "Don't mess around," he commanded, his voice cold and authoritative. Zhang Shuili, feeling a brief wave of relief, thought, "Thank God, someone is here to save me." But her relief was short-lived. The debt collector leader ordered his men, "Take her. Let Mr. Li know we've got some new goods." Zhang Shuili's hope shattered as she realized her nightmare was far from over. She had no idea how to escape or what to do next. Despair consumed her as she wondered how she could possibly survive this situation.